first grade friends, it's Mrs. Grimm from BF again. And for our lesson today, I need you to have with you your math packet and something to write with. So if you need to pause the video at this time, go get your math packet. Welcome back. So these are the sheets that you are going to need today. You are going to need a sheet that says a fork in the path, pine cones on the path, more pebbles and pine cones, and page 2 of more pebbles and pine cones. So do you remember in our very first lesson with Hansel and Gretel, when they were dropping we practiced dropping the bread outside, and then we worked with pebbles. Well, today I have a problem trying to help figure out. So if you look at this sheet, a fork in the path. A fork in the path means when the path breaks apart like this and it looks like the prongs of a fork. So if you're walking along and there's a pebble that you're following and you get to a fork in the road, how do you know which way to go? Should you go to your left or should you go to your right? What do you think is the right answer there? I think I hear some of you saying that you think they should go up on this way to the left because they see another pebble. And that's a great answer, and that's the right answer. But what if it's way up around the corner and they can't actually see it from here? What should they do? I want you to think of some ideas of what they could do. I'm going to have you pause for just a second while you think. All right, friends, now we will find the sheet that says pine cones on the path. So Hansel and Gretel decided to take care of their problem by marking, instead of every 10 steps with the pebbles, they're going to still do that, but every 5 steps they're going to put a pine cone. So now they will have a pebble, a pine cone, a pebble, a pine cone. And they decided that that would put the pebbles and pine cones closer together so that if they come to a fork in the road, they'd be able to see right away which direction to go. So here's a section of the path marked with pebbles and pine cones. We're going to use some of the clues here to figure out how to fill in together these missing boxes. So this pebble is number 10. The pine cone is number 15. What do you think the next pebble should be? Remember, we count by tens from pebble to pebble. So if this was 10, this one should be, the next 10 would be 20. So let's all write 20 in that box. You write it and I'm going to write it. I'm going to look down at my paper while I write 20. Did everybody write 20 in the box? So now 10, 15, 20. If I'm counting by 5s for the pine cones, what would the next 5 be after 20? That's right, 25. So I'm going to have everybody write 25 on the pine cone, under the pine cone there. So your path should now look like this: 10, 15, 20, 25. What do you think the next stone would be? If we're counting by tens for the stones, 10, 20, that would be 30. This one would be 40, 50, 60. So let's fill in all of our stones right now. Let's count by tens and write in all of our pebbles. Go ahead and write in your pebbles. So you can check your work, friends. Here so far we have 10 for this pebble, 20 for this pebble, 30 for this pebble, 40 for this pebble, 50 for this pebble, and 60 for this pebble. Did you get those all written in? If you need to pause the video to catch up, that's okay. Go ahead and press pause. All right. The last part we're going to do is finish filling in all the pine cones. We have to figure out this pine cone right here. What falls between 40 and 50? Remember, the pine cones are counting by 5. So 5 more than 40 would be 41, 42, 43, 44, 45. So does that make sense? 40, 45, 50. It does. So let's write 45 in by the pine cone. Go ahead and put that in there. So let's do a check, friends, and let's count by 5s. 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. What would this one be? What's between 50 and 60? That's right, 55, 60, and the last pine cone with the box would be 65. So let's write in 55 here and 65 there. If you need to pause, that's okay. All right, if you're not done writing in all the numbers for the pebbles and the pine cones, I want you to pause the video at this time and write those in. Now we are going to practice counting forward and backward. So we're going to first count forward and backward by 10 using our pebbles. Let's go forward first. This is just like what we did outside with our breadcrumbs. Here we go. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. Now let's count together backwards. Say it with me. 60, 50, 40, 30, 20, 10. Great job, first grade. Now let's try it by 5s. Here we go. 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60, 65. And then let's count backwards. Let's start with 65. 65, 60, 55, 50, 45, 40, 35, 30, 25, 20, 15, and 10. So now they will not have to worry when they get to a fork in the road of which direction to go because they're closer together. All right, friends, now we are going to go on to your worksheet times. I'll go over the directions and then you can go finish these on your own. So here, for each path section below, fill in the blanks to show how many steps it takes to reach each pebble and each pine cone. So here you can see we're counting by 5s. 0, 5, 10, 15. So you have to figure out what would go in that blank. 25, 40, 45. And so you need to fill in the blanks. And again, we're counting by 5s. Once you get all those numbers written in, practice saying them forward and backward. You will do the same thing with B and C, but notice that you have a different set of numbers. So here you actually have to start on the 35 and work backwards. So if I was counting backwards here, 45, 40, 35, and then you have to think, what would that be? So you have to count forward and backward to fill in all those numbers. Now down at the bottom, it says count forward by 5s to fill in the missing numbers. But in the box here, it tells you what number to start with. So here we're going to start with 10. So I'm going to say 10, and then I want to count up 5. And then take that number and count up 5. And take that number and count up 5. And then you can count by 5s and see if it works. Here you're going to start with 35 and count up by 5s. Here you're going to start with 65 and count up by 5s. And here you're going to start with 90 and count up by 5s. So if I'm starting with 90, I would actually put 90 right here. 95, what would that be? And what would that, okay? All right, now to your next and final page, and that is problems 3 and 4. Here you are going to count backward by fives. So you start with 100 and you go backwards, just like we counted forward and backward. You're going to start with 100 and count back 5. 99, 98, 97, 96, and you write that number in there. Then you count back 5, count back 5, count back 5. Here you do the same thing, but you start with the number 50, and here you start with 90. And then you count back 5, count back 5, count back 5, count back 5. The challenge is optional. If you think this is easy, go for it, first graders. I hope that this made sense. If you have any questions, you can always email your teachers. Have fun working with the past with pine cones and pebbles. Bye, first grade.